it's not as good, of course, in context or comparison to drafts we have seen in years past. It pales in comparison to last year when the focus was on the generational talent, Victor Wembanyama. But there are still storylines like who is going to go number one overall. We have seen drastic odds movement in the last 5 or 6 days. That's always fun for us on a sports betting network. And of course, Bronny James is a part of the conversation. Where will those college superstars like Zaccharie or Baylor Shireman or Dalton Connect or the young guys out of Kentucky fall into the lottery? There are still many storylines, but in comparison, it's not as good. But I believe it was Ernest Hemingway, DRS, that once said, comparison is the thief of joy. Enjoy what you see here in the present. We will do so tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Eastern time, here on SportsGrid's NBA Draft Special. Myself, Kevin Walsh, and the coach James Young, live from our Bellworks studios.
Yeah, and how about this? Like, you know what you guys should do, and again, the producers behind the scenes, call Anthony Bennett up. Get him on the air live and ask him the same questions. Like, how did it feel to be in a terrible draft where you're actually memorialized now as being that draft was so bad? Because that's what I'm expecting out of this. And by the way, Ben, like Risacher and all that, like, why did you just drop those guys into the Big Ten? Like, what's that about here? Like, you don't want to send them to the ACC, the SEC at this point. You drop them right into the Big Ten, handle their business.
I want them to learn the ways of Big Ten basketball. I want them to understand that 53-49 can be a victorious game as well.
Minnesota.
Although I think in Euro basketball, like FIBA rules are even more physical than the old Big East. But let's talk about Risacher and where he stands right now. Minus 270. Zaccharie Risacher to be the number one overall pick. It's what the Atlanta Hawks hold at this moment. Donovan Clingan, second best price at plus 340. I will present the interesting odds outlook for Clingan, who has the second best number to be the number one overall pick, but is not a favorite for any of the other selections in the top 10. It's not often you see that. And Risacher has become the hefty odds-on favorite to be that first overall selection in front of his countryman from France, Alex Sarr, who has fallen now to that number 2 overall pick that the Washington Wizards hold. And Sarr, a hefty favorite there at number 2 at minus 700. And yet there's that interesting distinction. If Clingan does not go 1, where does he fall in the lottery or even the top 10?
It is interesting on that. And also, not having that timeline here, are we hearing any ideas, Ben, about any trades that could go down in that top 3 here? Because it wasn't so long ago, me being a Philadelphia 76ers fan, where you go out and make that trade for Markelle Fultz with the Boston Celtics, which ended up giving the Celtics Tatum and a handful of draft picks here. So it's not uncommon that we've seen that 1, 2, or 3 pick being traded. Have we heard any thought processes that maybe we could get a surprise deal over like the next 24 hours?
It would not surprise me. I think part of the reason being, DRS, that no team is in love with maybe some of the prospects that we will see in the top 10. The Spurs have 2 picks, 4th and 8th. Could they package something? I'm not entirely sure. I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see at least one trade in that top 10, maybe even a trading of the rights, as we often see in the NBA draft. But nothing that I know of, at least as of right now. The Atlanta Hawks were rumored, or at least speculated for a while, would they hold on to that number 1 overall pick? By the way, just the second ever time Atlanta will draft first overall. In their last number 1 draft pick, David Thompson didn't even ever play for the Hawks organization. Started his pro career in the ABA and then ended up, of course, with the Denver Nuggets. The Washington Wizards selecting high at number 2 overall. The Houston Rockets have that 3rd overall pick. And again, a couple of names to note as you look at the top 10 and some more market movement. Donovan Clingan was the favorite to be the 6th overall pick yesterday. That's according to our stat man and producer, Joe Frizo. Now he doesn't even have the second best price to go 6th overall. That's Dalton Connect, one of the best scorers last year in college hoops for Tennessee. Would just be the 3rd ever lottery pick in program history for that Vols basketball program. Reed Sheppard, now a hefty odds-on favorite at minus 190 to go 3rd overall to Houston. If that is the case, Kentucky would have a first-round selection for 17 consecutive years in the NBA draft. Clingan's UConn teammate, Steph Castle, the favorite to go 4th overall, and Matas Buzelis has the best price to be the 5th overall pick as well.
And also, taking a look at that, let's just say top 6 or 7. Do we have any high risers in this draft here? Because as we know, the one thing that, I always bang on this draft with being not as talented, which might add to a lot of intrigue of where these guys are actually going. Could we see a guy like a Dalton Connect that, let's just say he does go 6 or projected to go 6, actually bounce into the top 5 at this point? Are there any guys that could catch that late attention that maybe some of the betting public is sleeping on here, Ben?
You know what is a great thing, DRS, is the fact that we now have a pretty full roster of betting odds for the NBA draft in the first round tomorrow. That was, of course, the expected outcome. But even 2.5 weeks ago, we didn't have much beyond who the favorites were to be a top 5 pick in each and every one of those draft slots. Now we have top 5 pick odds. Clingan, minus 210. Steph Castle, minus 170. Matas Buzelis at minus 155 as well. I need to look up his pronunciation, and we will do that before our show tomorrow. But the guy that JY referenced, Salon, is 12-1 to be a top 5 selection. Nikola Topic was going to be considered a top 5, top 10 pick, but did not measure nearly as long as they expected from a wingspan perspective, and of course is dealing with the ACL as well. Now 60-1. If the year was not 2024, but 1994, we'd probably see Zaccharie in the top 10, if not number 1 overall. He's 100-1 to be a top 5 pick.
Hey, a lot of guys are getting the benefit of the doubt in this one. You're right. Could we see, let's just say this draft was actually stacked. You would also start the question, where's Zaccharie going to go? Is he a first-round draft pick at this point? So a lot of guys here that turn pro, it's almost like winning the lottery themselves. So, hey, normally I wouldn't be a first-round draft pick. You get that first-round paycheck. You're going to be in the NBA for at least 3 to 4 years with a guaranteed contract, and that's a big win in itself. So if this was the year to go pro, like a Bronny James, this is the year that you want to do it.
And we are seeing some changing numbers for Bronny James. His draft position prop was 44 and a hook. Now it's 47 and a half, and the over has the heavy juice. There's only 58 total picks in this NBA draft. And, of course, night 2 is on Thursday. The Lakers now into minus money to select Bronny James.